Welcome to Pastor Jerone TV. Pastor Jerone here. Just want to talk about what's the purpose of marrying someone in the church, a minister. You know, because here you have Fred Price Jr. and Mary J. Blige. From what I remember, married her last husband, the one that's trying to take her money, was a minister. And I remember hearing the fact that he was a minister some years ago. When they got married, I was like, oh, okay, well, now Mary J. could finally, now she could probably, what they say, now she can breathe easy. Now she could take a breath. And now she can finally exhale. And I'm thinking, okay, things will be cool. Now she's got a minister and she can stop singing all those sad songs, right? And I think about the situations with Fred Price Jr., who come from a family legacy of preaching, a family legacy of ministering and teaching the word, and seemed like he would be the ultimate catch or the ultimate husband, because he's raised in a Christian family. When people get their life together and they're looking for somebody to settle down with, they're not looking for somebody that comes from broken homes and come from, bad settings and drugs and shootings and violence. They're not looking for that. They're looking for somebody who's probably had a good example, good examples of fathers and mothers in the home. Your father and mother have a long time marriage, they're still married, and only death is going to do them part, right? And that's what you're looking for, those type of things, when you're looking for somebody to go to the next level with. But nowadays, it almost seems like marrying a minister is almost getting ready to, it's almost like saying, oh, okay, this person is going to cheat on me. Don't be deceived by just because somebody has a title as a pastor or a minister or a prophet or a missionary, or just because of the fact they've been raised in the church. Don't go by that. You get to know a person, you spend some time with them, and you're getting to know them, and you're possibly thinking about going to the next level, which is marriage with them. But then do your homework. Do your homework. Ask everybody. But then, don't judge a book by its cover all the time. Just because this person has never been in church, or they're new in church and they don't know all the Bible verses, and they don't know how to pray like the people who've been in church know how to pray. Don't let that deceive you, because sometimes many people who are just coming to the things of God have a cleaner, purer heart than folks that's been around the church and have gotten hardened and callous and lethargic, and they don't have any fresh oil in their heart. They don't have a fresh anointing. They haven't repented of things, and they just become callous, and they've just relaxed and laid back on the love and the grace of God, which they shouldn't do, because the love and the grace of God will make you repent and turn from the sin. So Mary J. Blige is really going through it now, because that same minister now, who was being taken care of by her, is trying to get alimony for $130,000 a month, not a year. Knowing that he had no income when he met her. Some of these people are just really terrible. But here's the thing. I'm in my 40s, and some of you are probably in your 40s. And I remember years ago when I was in my 20s, and there was this little sitcom out called 30-somethings. You remember that? You remember the 30-something sitcom? And it was all the people who was 30-something. They was having these different marital problems and all these different things. And I was saying to myself, those are some old people. Boy, nobody want them. Well, now I'm in my 40s. I'm 46. And you just don't want to take a chance on hooking up with somebody that's going to be a thorn, or that's going to be some type of baggage. But here's what you have to understand. Everyone is going to have some type of baggage. Now, depending on what type of baggage you as an individual is willing to settle for and deal with. Because some baggages can change and grow, and some baggages can grow worse and go down. A drug challenge, a person that's on drugs, you probably don't want to get with that. A person who has mental illness or some kind of grave illness, it depends on you. Everybody's different. But some baggages are very small. Like the person doesn't like to hold long conversations, or the person doesn't like to talk on the phone a long time, or they don't like to go to the movies, different things like that. But then when you start growing up in issues, like the person has a porn issue, or the person have a lust issue, that they're looking at every person that walk by, or they, or you've caught them in a lot of lies. Now that's greater stuff. Those are greater issues, and those to me are the red flags that you shouldn't go to the next level with, because once you marry a person, now they feel like they have you, and they really gonna lay back on what they have, and they really gonna show you who they are. But anyway, marrying a minister many days, especially nowadays, is almost like the death sentence to a marriage. You know, it shouldn't be, and I'm not saying that it is. I'm just saying that from, the recent stuff with Fred Price Jr., who, to be honest with you, I never would have thought a guy like that would be stepping down and resigning from a ministry. We don't know what he did, and I'm not trying to tell you that he did something like, it don't always have to be something that dealing with sex or infidelity, but it was something. It was obviously something that was offensive to the church, and it was obviously something that was offensive to his marriage. And this is why he said he's caused a lot of damage to his name and to his family and to his marriage. And that's what he said in his own statement. But anyway, when you meet somebody, take your time, get to know their family, ask questions, and use the 3 stages of going into it. You have the friendship, the courtship, and then the marriage, possibly, right? In that friendship portion, that's when you want to be brutally honest. I'm brutally honest with all my friends, and they are with me sometimes. And sometimes it'll hurt your feelings. Your friends will hurt your feelings, right? Well, that's what you should do when you meet somebody, and you two are hanging out, and you two are checking each other out, and you both know that you like each other, and you're still friends. Be honest in those stages and tell them the truth and say, hey, I don't like this about you, or I've caught you in several lies. What's really going on? And then in the courtship stage, you want, to ask friends and family and meet the people that they know, and then ask them to talk to you about the person, And some people say that's too much PIing, you don't want to dig into people's, well, listen, you don't want to bring somebody and tie somebody into your life that's got a past or a present that's going to bring some stuff into your future. You just don't want that, And I know that there's a lot of, I have 4 daughters. I have 4 daughters, and I love them. I love those girls, man. I love them. I love those girls. But I've learned to give them the freedom of choice when it comes to their boyfriends. And I have my older daughter, she's married, and I'm sure that my other girls will get married too, and they're in relationships. But I always tell them, some things aren't ideal, and sometimes the person is not what you want them to be now, or they're not where you want them to be in life. But here's the problem: neither are you. And sometimes, if you're willing to work together, and if you two you have issues that are not too great and that you can both deal with, well then work that out. Because what marriage is to me, marriage is like 2 sharp stones that fall off the mountain and they fall into the river, right? Over time, the current of that river caused those 2 stones. They were sharp. They had jagged edges and they were sharp edges. And over time, that those 2 stones stay together, and that current of the river is causing them to bump up against each other and break off those hard edges. And when that river dries out and those 2 stones are still there, they're 2 smooth stones. When you meet somebody, they have things that you don't like about them, but they have things that you do like about them. But if you are going to commit to each other through the currents of life, the hard times, the good times, and all that, the ups, the downs, the ins, the outs, well then at the end of it, through it all, if you stay together, those rough edges are going to become smooth stones. All right? But that's my thought there. That's my thoughts on that whole matter there. Sometimes the gospel that we used to preach nowadays is not strengthening the soul of people. And it's really opening up a back door for people to say, hey, I never told you I was perfect. I never told you that I didn't have sins. I never told you, well, hey, you're preaching and you're ministering, and that's what preaching and ministry is. You're supposed to first live the gospel. You're supposed to live the word. And here you are saying you're a minister, and you're hooked on dope, and you're smoking drugs, or you're hooked on porn, or you're cheating around, you got a woman habit, or you got a man habit. It's not always the man. Trust me. Get my book, The Broken Strong Man, and you'll read my story. Read my story, The Broken Strong Man. I was a former football player, was pastoring a church, and the enemy came in and rocked my life. I never cheated. As a matter of fact, I never even flirted with another woman. I made women feel bad when they tried to approach me, because the only object that I wanted to please was my wife. I don't care about your feelings. I care about her feelings. All right, but sometimes loyalty, and I'll never lose that spirit. But sometimes loyalty, and most of the guys who have come to me and I've ministered to them after their wives was unfaithful to them, was extremely loyal. And what I mean by that is that sometimes when your spouse know exactly when you're coming home, and you're gonna come home every time, your paycheck, there's nothing for them to wonder about. There's no suspense to you. You're kind of boring, and but you're loyal, and they can depend on that loyalty. And sometimes that gives them a little room to feel like they can play, because they know that you're loyal to them, and you'll never leave them, and you'll never divorce them. So they go out and just kind of try or sample a little something, knowing that you're extremely loyal to them. But sometimes that backfires. But anyway, I'll be doing some videos in the near future talking about relationships and giving some tips on relationships, and what kind of signs to look for in a person who's a good person, signs to look for in a bad person or a deceptive person. They're always showing you who they are. Sometimes they try to mask it, and remember, the devil likes to wear sheep's clothing. He's not going to come up with the horns and then the red suit and show you he's the devil right away. He's going to, first of all, he's going to come up with the deceptive things. He's going to be, he or she is going to be everything that you're looking for at first, and then over time the real person shows up. Anyway, subscribe to the channel, share the channel, be blessed. We'll talk soon. Bye.